All right. Gosh, I really want to just start my own little show called Cliff Notes for the Micro Show. I love his podcast. They're long, and I just know that not everyone has the time, or they're not really good at kind of compartmentalizing that time from all these other things that are drawing our attention. So I've kind of been joking to myself that I need to just do a Cliff Notes of the Micro Show so that people can get these gems, who otherwise would not sit through or be stupid like me and walk in Michigan humidity while listening to this show for whatever it is, an hour. Anyway, so real quick, Gem, I'm catching up on his interview with Jillian, and I hate to say that I gotta think of what her last name is. I didn't really watch any type of reality TV shows. Jillian Michaels, anyway, which is funny because she lives in my town where I normally live, where I'll be going back to soon. But anyway, Gem, they're talking about tariffs, and Rose says, the way I look at this is you're either talking about this from a tier 1 conversation or a tier 2 conversation. I really hope I get this right. Tier 2 conversations are basically, how are the tariffs affecting me personally, my business, basically that macro approach to, oh shit, what's this going to do to the economy, versus a tier 1 conversation, which is when, for example, when he sat with this other dude, Jan, somebody who is involved with the Epic Times. Anyway, that conversation is basically, the tariffs and perhaps the refusal to do business with unsavory characters and unsavory regimes. Yeah, it's going to hit, we're going to all feel it, trickle down. But is it worth it, right? When you find out that the Chinese communist regime is using their political prisoners to involuntarily harvest something like 60,000 organs a year, and when you find out that you can actually schedule an organ transplant, which should not be possible because there's no way to schedule an unknown time of death and an unknown window of time to harvest that organ unless you are knowingly taking an organ from someone at a very specific point in time. Okay, I'm rambling. These are supposed to be Cliff Notes. But basically that tier 1 conversation is, once you know this, how do you unknow it? How do you still want that cheap sweatshirt? How do you still want to complain that you can't get your plastic container that is produced in China for your creatine supplement? How do you want to complain about that? And then he likened it to 1860s, this country, and how there was, very real and perhaps valid and convincing arguments for slavery because of how dependent our nation's economy was upon it. And not just the South, the whole nation to one degree or another. But basically you have that tier 1 conversation is, is there a chance that this is going to cripple our economy for a period of time, or at least give it a gimp? You got a little hitch in your giddy up? But is it worth it to end slavery? Is it worth it to say no to a country that illegally and involuntarily harvests organs from political prisoners who are only being detained because of their activism, their political views, their religious beliefs? So watch or listen to Mike Rowe. Otherwise, I'll just try to share what I loved. And I'm not through this one yet, so. And Jillian's awesome, by the way. All right, thanks.